Welcome to the H.D. Smith Pharmacy Podcast Series, recorded live at the NCPA Annual Convention and Exhibition in October of 2017. This podcast series is dedicated to independent community pharmacy owners throughout the country, and the topics and discussions are near and dear to the H.D. Smith team. H.D. Smith is the only national drug wholesaler dedicated exclusively to independently owned pharmacies, and has been since 1954. H.D. Smith's consultant-style proactive account management helps pharmacies thrive and improve profitability in today's changing market. Share all these podcasts in this special series about topics and issues impacting the profitability and survivability of privately owned pharmacies with other owners and operators. Help us spread the word about supporting independently owned pharmacies. And now, here's the founder and host of the Pharmacy Podcast Network, Todd Eury.
This is Christian Herrington. I'm the Corporate Vice President of Pharmacy Strategies with H.D. Smith, and you're listening to the Pharmacy Podcast.
Hey there, Pharmacy Podcast listeners. We are recording live at the NCPA 2017 at the Gaylord Palms in Orlando, Florida. This is an amazing outcome. There are pharmacists and pharmacy owners everywhere, and I am in H.D. Smith's booth, which is an honor for me to be here with a wholesaler who is dedicated solely to the lifeblood and the founding of what is independent pharmacy, and I am lucky to have Christian in the booth with me right now. Welcome to the Pharmacy Podcast, Christian.
Thank you, Todd.
Hey, so we are here today to talk about pharmacy transition services and how important it is to continue the legacy of a pharmacy from one owner to the other. And doing that is not an easy task. So just set the stage for our listeners. Tell us about H.D. Smith services to help the transition of independent pharmacy.
Certainly. When we were looking at independent pharmacies, we were realizing that many people don't understand how to value their store. They don't understand how to market their store or where to find a potential buyer. So H.D. Smith put together a program where we can help the independents carry on their legacy. It allows us to help them value the store, find buyers for the store, and to continue that legacy of independent retail pharmacy.
So we have a pharmacy owner that's been in business for 35 years. He doesn't or she doesn't have anybody to pass the store on to in their family. And what do you know? They get a letter in the mail from one of the national chains, and they give them a big bloated number. And they just don't feel right about it. In the pit of their stomach, they know that it's just the files, and it's not really the employees. It's certainly not the community. There's not the integration with the big, huge, big box stores that, the people in those stores are good people. They're pharmacists just like anyone else. However, it's that corporate oversight that we all know that things become fast food pharmacy instead of it really being a community environment. So why do you think it's so important to preserve community pharmacy?
Well, first of all, the whole idea is community pharmacy. These pharmacies are all about taking care of the people that live in the community, that thrive there. Large chains don't do that. They're not part of the Chamber of Commerce. They're not working to improve the town. They're only looking at their bottom line. Retail pharmacy has been part of America for hundreds of years, and it needs to stay as part of the community.
So talk to us about the components of transition of pharmacy ownership. What if I'm a pharmacy owner and it's time for me to start thinking about selling because I want to retire and I don't have anybody to push my legacy onto. Tell me what I need to start thinking about, and also tell me about the timing. How far in advance before I actually sell my store should I be really starting to compile data and getting my ship in shape?
Well, so that's the whole point. We really have to be 3 years out at least. Anytime that you're looking to sell your store, any potential buyer is going to look at a 3-year trend of how the business has performed. So it's important to start looking at things like gross profit, expenses, inventory, and make sure that you're preparing the business for sale.
So you've been with H.D. Smith how many years now, Christian?
I've been with H.D. Smith 16 years, been in the industry for 33.
That's incredible. You've seen so much change and so much impact to community pharmacy. Having a wholesaler that does nothing but empowers community pharmacy. Tell me how that sets H.D. Smith apart from the other wholesalers.
Well, a good example might be to explain to you how we got VentureRx, where we came up with the idea. We had looked at our business over the course of a year and realized that we had about 70 independents sell out to chains. Not one of them wanted to sell to a chain, they just didn't know how to approach selling their business. So we decided that it was time that we stepped in. Our lifeblood is independent retail, and without the independent, we don't survive. And in the last year, I can say honestly, I maybe have had 3 stores sell to chains. Every other independent, I've been able to find a buyer for.
That's incredible. So that's VentureRx, which is the new division, part of the transition services through H.D. Smith. But let's talk about opening a new store.
Sure.
And there's 2 components of that. There's one that I'm not a pharmacy owner and I want to become a pharmacy owner. And then the other is working with VentureRx, H.D. Smith's transition services, to find me additional stores. So talk to us about both of those types of scenarios.
Okay. Well, the first one, in terms of finding additional stores, we have over 75 sales reps that cover the country. And so that's our network. And on a regular basis, they're providing you with information about people that might be close to retirement or might be looking at their stores. So I've got a catalog of stores, so to speak, that where the buyer is looking to get out, or they're looking to sell, and they're looking for the right owner, the right person to talk to. And so that's when somebody comes to me and says, I'm looking for a store to buy and I'm looking for something in this area. I may already have a store there that I know is going to be selling, or I can then go out to the sales reps in that geography and say, find me a store in this geography that's looking to sell or retire. I've got a buyer for that area. The second half of starting up a new store, and we probably do over 130 of these a year.
Okay.
And one of the issues with starting a new store is many times the people that are starting this store, they're strapped for cash. So they tend to avoid taking on additional expenses and don't have the appropriate services and marketing tools to launch their new store. For example, a website. I don't know how many new stores I've seen go into business and, well, we're small, we're starting, we don't have the money to develop a website right now. In today's market, if you don't have a website, you don't exist for most of the millennials.
Right.
If they can't pull up their smartphone and type in the name of your store and find a top-notch website, you're going to have a real hard time surviving.
That's right. It's part of your storefront.
Yeah, so we go and we sit down with these people and we go through every program and service that we think they might need to help make their store the best possible store day one in business. And we will actually sign them up and issue them a credit up front for the first year's program and service fees, up to $20,000.
Wow. That's incredible. So you're not only assisting as the backbone wholesaler of these community pharmacies, but you're also providing a tremendous amount of education.
Education and making sure that they're going to stay active and thrive. We've seen too many small stores start up, and a year from now they're doing 10 or 20 scripts a day, and you just can't support yourself or a family that way. It's so much better to spend the money up front and have the best possible store you can day one, so that first customer gets a great experience.
Makes a lot of sense, Christian. So tell us the components. I'm listening to this show right now. I'm on my way to work. I want to actually buy a pharmacy. What's like the top 5 things that I got to think about to get in order, and what are those objections? What are the obstacles for me to become a pharmacy owner?
So the first is going to be financing. It's not easy to start a business. It is always less expensive to start a store from scratch than it is to buy an existing store. Okay. However, an existing store already has a customer base and it's already generating revenue. and margin to some point. So in many cases, it might be easier to buy an existing store than it is to start a new one up from scratch. It just depends on the individual and the area that they have. Secondly, if you are going to start a new store, the most important thing to consider is the location.
Okay.
It's all about location. It's all about visibility.
So what about the flip side? Selling my pharmacies, what do I have to think about? You said 3 years out. So what types of things, if today I say, hey, I want to retire in 3 years, what kind of things should I be thinking of, planning? And when is it too early and or is it not too early to reach out to the VentureRx group, transition services with HD Smith?
It's always better sooner than later. Typically what I'll do is I'll do an evaluation on the store. I'll pull 3 years worth of financials and I'll do an analysis and show the owner what the value of the store is today. Then we'll sit down and we'll take a look at the numbers and we'll compare gross profit to the national averages. We'll compare expenses to the national averages. We'll make recommendations on how to improve the performance of the store. One of the most important valuation calculations is a financial one, where it's EBITDA times 3 plus your revenues and your assets. And that EBITDA number is the true measure of cash flow in your business. So if we can improve cash flow in the business, that's going to be seen as threefold in the value of the store when it's time to sell it.
EBITDA is earnings
before interest,
taxes,
depreciation, amortization.
Okay. I can never remember that acronym. So let's shift gears for a second. We're at NCPA 2017. Why is it important to be part of the NCPA?
NCPA is the one organization that links all independent retailers together. It's become harder and harder to run a retail pharmacy. The pressure from the PPNs, the pressure from the variance of government organizations and the regulations that they apply. There really is no one voice for independent retail other than NCPA. So it's so important that you become part of NCPA and you become active and advocate on retail pharmacies' behalf.
So how does a listener reach out? We'll have links in the show notes to bring you back to the correct page on the HD Smith website. However, if I'm listening, what do you suggest is the best way to reach out to the transition services, VentureRx?
If you just typed in VentureRx, you'll hit our website.
Okay.
There are emails there. There's a direct dial number there.
Okay.
And as always, you can always call myself, Christian Herrington.
Christian Herrington from HD Smith. It was wonderful to have you on the Pharmacy Podcast. We thank you so much for sponsoring this NCPA 2017.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We thank you for listening to the HD Smith Pharmacy Podcast Series, recorded live at the NCPA 2017. To learn more about topics impacting the independent pharmacy community, be sure to listen to all the podcasts in this 12-part series. As a reminder, HD Smith is the only national wholesaler dedicated solely to independent pharmacy owners. HD Smith's success is directly related to the success and profitability of privately owned independent pharmacies. To learn more about HD Smith, visit hdsmith.com.